So this week I dug into some archive footage that I took about 4 years ago, where I made these drawers with these half-blind dovetails out of walnut. It was a really fun build. I think it was the first time I've made half-blind dovetails, and I was pretty proud of them. So I'm going to walk you through the process, and yeah, let me know, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you want me to do more of these like fine woodworking things with fancy woods versus a lot of the plywood stuff I've been working on. I have a few plywood projects coming up, but I also have some fancier stuff that I want to get to. Yeah, so let me know. Alright, starting off, I recorded this video in 2020, in October during the pandemic. I was doing a lot more work with scrap wood. I was trying to use a lot of the leftover stuff I had from other projects. So right now, I'm using my dovetail jig. It just holds the two pieces in a 90-degree orientation to each other, so that I can mark out the pin locations using the tailboard. So with this operation, you definitely want to go with a marking knife over a pencil. It gets you a much better registration mark and a much cleaner dovetail in the end. Yeah, the 90-degree jig has fences on either side so that the pieces can return to their locations if they need to. And then marking the waist with pencil is always smart, so you know which part you're chiseling in the end. Alright, so then I turned the board over and so that it was facing towards me, and raised it up so that I can get a saw to it. Now with a half-blind dovetail, you can't just cut right across the whole board, so the move is to cut it at a 45-degree angle until you connect the ends of the tail in each side. And then I think right about here is where I figured that my hand was in the way during this whole time, so that I also switched the camera angle to something that was a decent amount more useful. The other thing to keep in mind is to put your saw right on the waist side of your line. That way you're going to eventually pair these to fit with a chisel. So you want to be just too tight on all your cuts. That way you can get it just right. With this Japanese pull saw, this operation is very, very easy. You just kind of let the weight of the saw and the sharpness of the teeth do all the work. And there's all my my lines cut. Okay, so from here, some tips and tricks are to keep this piece really well clamped down. Kind of can't see it, but I have one of those big long wood clamps that really, really hold the piece down. Any bounce you get while chiseling is kind of wasted energy, so it really helps to have a sharp chisel and a piece that is not going to move anywhere. So right now I'm chopping down at the line that I cut with my marking gauge, and then I am chiseling out from the long end that chunk. And yeah, each time I get a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. And really what this comes down to is patience more than anything. You're working slow, you're getting each piece exactly the fit that you want. Yeah, this is a process that is not meant to be rushed. What's cool is you're rewarded for your patience with a beautiful joint at the end of it. And then towards the end, you're really just shaving off the last bits to get exactly to your line. So all this work, and then you're going to see later that I have to do a decent amount more to get the actual fit perfect. And I think you'll probably even see that it's not enough perfect. But with a little sanding and wood glue, it really ends up looking nice. So here's a slightly better angle. Here's a slightly better angle at it. Yeah, chopping at the line and then paring away kind of at a 45-degree angle. And then you're just slowly working your way down that line. At this point I'm working kind of right at the line, and you'll see that when I come down, the compression of the wood and the angle of the chisel kind of pushes the chisel towards the inside of the board. So I'm not really doing a perfect technique there. I could have done better. I could have pulled away from the line a little bit to do that chiseling so that I wouldn't kind of mush the inside of the board. Alright, so here I'm doing light taps, fitting the tails to the pins, and then kind of seeing where it rubs, seeing which pins are tight, and then coming in and just doing a little bit of shaving, trying to get that last 30-second of a material that's in the way. You also notice here that I have a fairly cheap chisel. It's like Stanley or Buck Brothers or something. But I have it sharpened to a really nice point. And yeah, even kind of crappy chisels, if you take your time and sharpen them, they end up being decent. They're not going to hold their edge as long as a nice Japanese chisel or some chisel made with nicer steel, but they do alright. This joint you can see a decent amount of gaps. Eventually I rub some glue and some sawdust and sand them, and then all those gaps kind of disappear. So I didn't want this handle to protrude, so I didn't want like a knob or anything like that. I basically just wanted a little finger pull to grab a hold of these drawers when they're in this desk. So what I ended up with was this pretty simple design that's just two cuts at two different angles. So to make it easier on myself and to make the cuts the exact same, I'm cutting them at the same time. So what I'm doing here is I'm clamping the two pieces together, and then I'm using a little painter's tape and taping them together. So there's the finger pull. I don't always keep my scroll saw out, so I had to drag it out. The cool thing about this, the scroll saw does leave pretty nice edges, so it doesn't require a whole lot of sanding. And yeah, there it is. It's just a very simple finger pull, big enough so your finger fits in it. So the bottom of the drawers have a rabbet holding in the plywood drawer. None of that seemed very interesting. The dovetails are glued in and the drawer is floating within. And then I'm using these kind of 90-degree clamps just to make sure everything sets up nice and even. So to make sure that something is square, you measure the corners, and if you get the same measurement twice, then your piece is square. Moving on to the finishing portion. Yeah, these were already sanded to 220 grit, and I'm finishing them with a little Odie's oil, which you use with a white Scotch-Brite pad and just rub in and then buff out after the surface is kind of flooded. You give it some time to seep in and then buff it out. So these two walnut pieces were resawn from a larger piece and then book matched to be a matching drawer set, which I really like. Yeah, this piece came out really great. I was very happy with having these drawers in this little desk. The desk I made about 15 years ago in a shed in an old house that I used to live at. So it was nice to give it kind of an updated drawer set with a lot of new skills that I acquired in the intervening 15 years. Alright, so that was that, and here's the drawer. 4 years old, it still looks pretty great. The dovetails still look pretty decent all the way through. The half blind, nothing's separated. This wood still looks beautiful. This like curly section of the walnut is great. I'll show the two side by side. Yeah, big fan of how this came out. So what I really love about half blind dovetails is, especially when you get a piece of wood like this, that you want to just show off. You want this to be the lead character in the whole thing. Yeah, this walnut with this curl looks beautiful, but you can't just pocket hole something this beautiful together, so you got to do something nice. That's where the half blind comes in. It allows you to connect the two pieces in a really sturdy, good, solid way that's going to last a long time, but it also makes it so your dovetail doesn't stick through and kind of take away from the fact that this wood is really beautiful. So yeah, that's what I really love about them. That's what I love about these drawers. I was a really big fan of how this finger notch came out. It was super easy to use. I put in some drawer liner in there so I can put stuff in there and it doesn't rattle around quite so much. But yeah, I had fun with this build, and it's making me want to go back and do more dovetails. So yeah, I hope I'll see you in the shop soon.